Here's a fun twist for you. When you hear the name Monte Carlo, you probably picture shiny casinos, James Bond sipping martinis, and people in tuxedos winning or losing fortunes. But no. That's Monaco. Our Monte Carlo is far more charming and way less expensive. You're about to watch what I think is the world's first real story-driven video all about Monte Carlo and Toscana. This quiet, centuries-old hilltop with secrets in its stones. Monte Carlo was born from war, shaped by emperors, and polished by tending vines. Stick around, because in the next few minutes we'll wander through its gates, get lost in flower-filled alleys, and end with a view that'll make you never want to click away. We parked just where the modern ends and the medieval begins. Monte Carlo's entire historic center fits within these old walls. Only about 15 square kilometers and fewer than 4,400 souls live here. This hilltop town, the Charles's Mountain, was born in 1333 when the future Emperor Charles IV liberated Lucca from Pisa's grip, and the people of the destroyed town of Vivinaya were relocated here. On our left loomed the fortress walls, Rocca di Monte Carlo. Monte Carlo is a commune in the province of Lucca, smack in the northern part of Tuscany. Getting here is surprisingly easy. It's about a 20-minute drive from Lucca, and maybe 45 minutes from Florence if you're cruising along the A11. The whole municipality is tiny. But don't let the size fool you. Huge drama took place here, in medieval style. And though Florence took over in 1437, Monte Carlo still has that fortress watching over it like an old guardian. And it is here, right in front of us. La Rocca di Monte Carlo. This fortress is definitely not the place for claustrophobes. Built between the 14th and 16th centuries, it has three main structures. The semicircular keep, Tower of the Apparition, and Tower of Santa Barbara. Legend has it, in 1400, the Madonna appeared on these ramparts to protect the village during a siege. The fortress is open to the public, usually weekends and holidays from spring through autumn. And, if you circle the walls, you'll still find 3 of the original 15 gates. The Porta Fiorentina, the Porticiola, and the Porta Nuova. Right in front of the Rocca is the Via Roma, and you can spot the tall bell tower from the parish of Sant'Andrea. Perched at 163 meters above sea level, Monte Carlo is recognized with the touring club's orange flag, Italy's stamp of approval for excellence in tourism. In 1333, Charles IV, before he was emperor, helped free Lucca from Pisa. To mark the occasion, the Republic of Lucca relocated survivors from a destroyed village, called Vivinia, up onto this hill, calling it Monte Carlo or Charles Mountain. Fast forward a century, in 1437, the Florentines took over, because Florence had to colonize something, right? From then on, Monte Carlo was under Florence's rule until Italy unified. We were all set to head straight for the main square, but then this little tunnel appeared in front of us, with a beam of light shining at the end. And of course, my husband's curiosity kicked in. So our plans instantly changed. The first light of morning washes over Monte Carlo in a golden haze, soft and gentle. The stone walls glow with a warm honey tint, as if centuries of history are being revealed in slow motion. Narrow cobbled lanes catch streaks of light, where shadows and sun weave together like brushstrokes on a canvas. The clack of our shoes on cobblestones. The smell of rosemary growing wild along the walls. It's like the past happened, but it left behind something soft and livable. Okay, so now that we've stretched our legs and stuffed your brain with a little history, let's head to one of Montecarlo's gateways, known as Porta Fiorentina. Walking through Montecarlo feels a bit like playing a medieval board game, where every corner leads you to another gate. One of the main gates still standing today is Porta Fiorentina. And built into the old walls, it feels like a passage between two worlds. On one side, there are narrow lanes, stone arches, silence broken only by your footsteps. On the other side, the wide-open Tuscan countryside, stretching all the way to the horizon. Now, we didn't want to leave Montecarlo just yet, so after soaking in the view, we turned back inside the walls. And that's when we got delightfully lost in the maze of streets and alleyways again. When I say lost, it's a bit dramatizing it, but just play along, okay? We ended up at Via Lorenzini, and it really looks like something out of an old Italian film. Narrow cobbles, high stone walls that feel like they're leaning in just a little, as if they're whispering secrets. The path winds gently until suddenly, you spill onto Via Roma, which is basically Montecarlo Main Street. Well, almost. There is this small tunnel, which is a pathway connecting the two roads. Along Via Roma, balconies burst with geraniums and bougainvillea, like each one's trying to win Best Decorated Building award. We passed a little boutique called L'Angolo di Così fan tutte, decorated so beautifully with flowers that I wanted to take about 100 photos. Then you will spot a balcony draped in pink geraniums. A little archway that looks like it might lead to Narnia. A doorway with faded green paint that's probably been there longer than my family has been alive. Here, you'll find several enoteca, and think of them as wine bars where you can sample and buy bottles from the region. On the other hand, a trattoria is where you go for casual, home-style meals. A ristorante is more formal. An osteria is rustic and traditional, often cheaper. Not long after, we wandered to the other side of town and reached Porta Nuova, also known as Porta dell'Alto Pascio. It is less a gate and more a portal to all of Tuscany. You step through and the horizon blooms across your vision, fields, mountains, rooftops like terracotta sprinkles. It's one of those views that puts you in your place, in a good way. A tiny town, the world ahead. History, beauty, stillness, all rolled into one moment. It was now time to make our way into the very heart of Montecarlo. After all, every village has a soul, and here in Montecarlo, it beats strongest in its piazza. And before I take you further, a little teaser. In our next episode, we'll be heading just a few minutes down the road, to Carlo, the birthplace of Pinocchio. Yes, the world's most famous wooden boy comes from right here in Tuscany. So, if you haven't already, remember to hit subscribe, like, and ring the bell. We now emerged into the Piazza Francesco Carrara, the main square of the village. The space opened up in front of us, like a stage waiting for its story to be told. The piazza is named after Francesco Carrara, a noble family that once had strong ties here. The first thing that drew us in was the Church of Sant'Andrea the Apostle, the main parish church of Montecarlo. Push open the heavy wooden doors, and the interior tells quite a story, quiet, intimate, and steeped in faith. Inside, the arches lift your gaze toward the vaulted ceilings, while delicate altars and side chapels invite quiet reflection. The church dates back to the 14th century and has been restored and cared for over the centuries, preserving its medieval character. One of its highlights is the artwork of the Madonna with Child and Saints, a reminder of how deeply intertwined faith and daily life once were in villages like this. Stepping back out into the square, we took a moment just to soak it in. Around us, cafes and little shops framed the edges of the piazza, each with its own story, each with its own character. There's a sense here that time moves differently, slower, kinder, like the world is reminding you to pause and simply enjoy being present. From the edge of the piazza, where the medieval walls still embrace Montecarlo, the world suddenly opens up. You stand there, leaning over weathered stone, and Tuscany just spills out in every direction. Rolling hills stitched with vineyards and olive groves, their colors shifting with the morning sun. In the distance, the outlines of Lucca's plain stretch flat and wide, while to the other side, the gentle rise of the Monte Cathini hills beckons. On a clear day, you can even catch glimpses of tiny villages perched on faraway slopes, like specks of history scattered across the countryside. And it's here, with Tuscany unfolding beneath us, that Montecarlo reminds you why it's so much more than a dot on the map. It's a window into the very soul of the region. Montecarlo may be tiny, but it holds the heart of Tuscany within its walls, history, wine, beauty, and that unshakable sense of time standing still. But as magical as today has been, our journey doesn't end here. In fact, we're only just getting started.